When the Messianic age is ushered in, the choice is not going to be the same as it is today. Once the earth is perfected and the world is perfected, at that point it will be a much nicer place to live in, but the ability to have choice will be greatly diminished. And you understand then the irony that once the Messianic age is upon us, the rewards that we'll get will therefore necessarily be lessened. Because at that point the choice will not be as profound. So then why do we want the Messiah to come? If we get more choice today than I would, you understand what I'm saying? If you feel God right in front of you, or if there is this entire, greater knowledge of God, that's the most important aspect of the Messianic age. When it talks about the lamb lying down with the lion, or whatever the exact image was, the idea is that animals will even reach a higher level of understanding. If animals, certainly will man. If all of man will be able to understand God among us, even animals will be raised up to a higher level. If that's the case, then the whole value of my performance of commandments is diminished. So then why should I want it to happen? Because the world will be a much better place. Because at that point there won't be starvation, there won't be bloodshed, there won't be war. Which means our desire of the Messianic age is not a narrow one. It's for the rest of the world. Even though our relative reward will be diminished. But this takes us all the way back to the beginning. God created two people, Adam and Eve. Neither of them were Jewish. And we have to recognize that. We have to understand that. Adam and Eve were not Jewish. Adam and Eve had choices. The choices that they made created a world where they were exiled from the Garden of Eden. It created a harsh world, a different world, a difficult world. This world is one that we find ourselves in today. It's a world that the direct result after the Kedat is literally brother killing brother. That's connected. The world that Adam and Eve gave us, not the world that God gave us, the world that Adam and Eve gave us, is the world which we give to, which is the same world that we've received from our parents. And it's the same world that we swear when we're young we're not going to give to our children. Whether we do or we don't will be, to a very great extent, a function of what we do with our lives. And how we inspire those around us. But Adam and Eve, as I said, were not Jewish. The next great person who came was Noah. In various things that I've written in the past year or two, I was attacked because I was very, very harsh on Noah. Very, very harsh on Noah. I think Noah was a tragedy. I think Noah was a failure. And I think he knew that he was a failure. And when people read the piece that I wrote, did you read it? When people read what I wrote, people said, whoa, how could you come to such a conclusion about Noah? Noah, if you think about it for a moment, and then we'll be able to move up to Abraham in a moment. If you think about Noah for a second, God comes down and says to Noah, the world is a terrible place. We know the world's a terrible place. It is, Noah, you're a righteous man. Okay, Noah is a righteous man. The world is a terrible place for what reason? A terrible place because people are doing all sorts of terrible things. People are stealing, people are raping, people are pillaging. Terrible things are going on. He says, Noah, you're a righteous man. What makes Noah righteous? Noah doesn't steal, and he doesn't rape, and he doesn't pillage. He stays to himself. So God says to Noah, I'm going to destroy the world. Go and build an ark. I don't know if you've ever paid attention to this, but one of the difficulties of biblical chronology from our perspective as modern people is how much time elapses. According to the Torah, Noah has 120 years to build his ark. And what does he do for 120 years? He builds an ark. And a very simple question, and you see it coming. So how many people did Noah change? Did he bring onto the ark with him? How many people did he save? How many people did he inspire? How many people did he change from the way that they looked at the world? And told them, the world is ending as you know it. This world is too evil. God wants to start anew. Come, join me. How many people joined him? Not one. It's an incredible difficulty. How could Noah take all these years, all this time, and not affect anybody? For that reason, Noah's a failure. The one source in Judaism that says it really clearly, it's in some Midrashim, is in the Zohar. Well, basic mystical source, the Zohar writes, when Noah got off of the boat, he looks around and he sees there's nothing left, and he starts to cry. And he says, God, you were supposed to be compassionate. Why didn't you have compassion on your people? And God says to him, now you speak? Now you're saying something? He says, Noah, you're an idiot. And the exact language he uses, he goes, Noah, you're a stupid shepherd. There's an irony involved in language. Moses is always described in the Torah, in the mystical literature, as being the faithful shepherd. Raya Mehemna, Moshe is the faithful shepherd. A leader of a generation is a shepherd. A shepherd cares for his flocks. When a shepherd sees his flocks being attacked, he doesn't say, you stupid flocks, you wandered away from me, you deserve to be eaten by the wolves. The shepherd goes and tries to save his flocks. But what about Noah? Why didn't he save any? Instead, he turns to God and says, look, God, isn't it terrible what you did? Again, God wants to shower us with good, but we have to deserve it. We have to create this world, not God. God created it once, and we have to recreate it. Noah takes a passive stance. Noah doesn't do anything to try to influence others. It's a terrible condemnation. Avraham, on the other hand, when God says to him, I'm going to destroy your city, what does Avram say? Does he say, oh, okay. And what does Avram say? Aren't there some righteous people? How can you destroy everybody? Shouldn't the whole city be saved because of the righteous? By the way, that's not so equitable. It's not so logical. If they're wicked people, they should be killed. What's Avraham saying? What's the core of his argument? If there are some good people, then don't destroy the whole city. Why not? Destroy everybody except for the good people. That's not justice. What's Avram arguing? If there is a core of good, the good can go out and have a chance to change the bad. Which means what Avraham is saying, Avraham understands the responsibility that we have in this world. Avraham reaches out to other people. Avraham tries to change people. Noah doesn't. That's when Noah's life is a tragedy. You know what he does right when he gets after the boat in the Torah? You know what it says? He gets drunk. Which is so typical from a survivor who can't face life anymore. He gets drunk. It's a clear sign of depression. Can't deal with the fact that he survived and the fact that he didn't do anything to save anybody else. One of the great ironies in Jewish history, by the way, in history, world history, is that according to the chronology of the Torah, Noah and Abraham actually meet. I don't know if you ever realized this. They meet at the Tower of Babel. Can you imagine the two of them right there? The two great personalities at the beginning of history meet together. What does Noah communicate to Abraham? We don't have a word of it. Abraham, we're told, finds God on his own. If Abraham finds God on his own, means Noah never said anything to anybody. Noah was completely passive. Never reached out, had nothing to say to people. I mean, one of the things that we always have to pray is that we don't become the Noahs of our generation. That's assuming that we're righteous. Assuming that we're righteous. That's always not always a wonderful assumption.